I was immediately drawn to the second Hour Mandala as soon as I saw it. I saw that dial, I saw those hands, I saw those case dimensions, and I thought, yes, that is a watch for me. Hello, you're watching James. My name is James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. And today I'm talking about the second Hour Mandala, a watch from a microbrand here in Australia that has really stood out to me. Nowadays, with so many microbrands coming out, with so many watches from Aliexpress that are getting better and better, it becomes harder and harder to find a watch that stands out. I find lots of watches that I absolutely love, that I really like, that I want to own, but there's a few amongst those that really stand out. And this Mandala from Second Hour really stood out to me. But now that I've actually had it in hand, now that I've been wearing it, has it really sort of justified what I thought it was going to be? Is it as good as I was hoping it to be? Because if you're going to buy one of these brand new, they're 875 Australian dollars. And I do want to talk about that price a little bit later, and I'll do that at the end of the video. But please do keep in mind that is for the current version of this watch. I ended up picking up the Mark I watch, the first iteration of it, and I bought it second hand. And I want to talk to you about why I chose to buy it second hand as well, rather than spend that $800+ straight off their website. So let's flip the camera around now, and let's do the full in-depth review of the second Hour Mandala. Now there's a lot to like about this second Hour Mandala, starting with the case. What a great travel case that comes with, but also what's on paper, because this is a 40mm case diameter watch, has a compact 46 lug to lug, a hardened case surface, a high beat Miyota movement, a 9015 movement, comes with spare straps, a leather as well as a NATO, comes with a 100 meters of water resistance, and it also comes obviously with a very, very good looking watch. Something that really stands out about this watch is how much detail there is about this watch, and I keep saying there is beauty in the detail. And it is those details that first captured my attention before I owned this watch. It is what's captured my attention when I first got this watch, and it has continued to capture my attention whilst wearing this watch. Because check out the dial, there's a lot to see here, there's a lot to talk about. The inner ring there is like a gear shade sort of spiraling pattern outwards. It is very 3D. There is a step up to an inner bezel there, which has applied markers. These ones are in gold, which matches in with those really interesting looking gold hands with the little fork tips there. But above that, there is a white chapter ring with some printed numbers, printed minute tracks and seconds. It's on a bit of an angle. Stepping up again, there's a black surround there on the inner chapter ring with white numbers. So we've got white on black, black on white, then black on with white on again, with gold accents, but then we've got more sort of indices there. There's one at the 12, the 4, and the 3, giving it this sort of almost a trifecta sort of thing there, sort of dividing the dial up into 3. They are applied. They're quite thick as well. They really sort of stand out on the dial. You can see there on the angle there that there is lots of shape, lots of movement, lots going on. And if you look closely at the second hand, you can see it sticks out all the way to that second track, and there's a nice flash of red there. Now we do have lume on this watch. It's actually better than I would expect from a sort of a dressy everyday watch as well. Let's check out that sort of footage now and see how good it actually is, because it really did impress me. And the other thing that impressed me about this watch is the dimensions, because we have a case diameter of 39.9 millimeters. We have a nice slim 10.9 millimeter width, lug to lug of 45.8 millimeters, lug width of 20 millimeters, and on this bracelet size to my 6 3/4 or around about 17 centimeter wrist, it's 118 grams. Let's look at the dial a little bit more, because it is rather special, and it's rather easy to see because it's under a nice piece of a flat sapphire crystal, and there must be some AR coating on this because it's nice and easy to read. And that gold on black, it's a very easy sort of distinction between the two. So you do actually find it's a rather legible watch too, which is again quite surprising. I consider this sort of like a dressy everyday watch. These sizes, this sort of look, this style, and how it feels on wrist too. But one of the favorite things about this watch is actually the case, both the look, the design, and the finishing. Because we start off with a polished sort of solid bezel, dropping down to a brushed edge, brushed on the tops of those lugs, polished chamfer edge on the top and underneath, which I really like. I like having an under chamfer, and a really nice brushed edge there. The crown is signed. It's also guarded by those crown guards you can see there. Really nice knurling on the crown itself. Really easy to grab onto, which is nice. Really nice to grab onto. 200 meters of water resistance because it is a screw down crown. This Miyota 9015 is regulated supposedly by second hour, so it should be running reasonably well. Hand winding, no ghost position, and it does have hacking. Now, being a regulated 9015, it should be rather interesting to see what it is like on the time grapher. So let's see how this one is performing. Well, I'm very happy with those figures. As you can see, it's a high beat, 28,800 vibrations per hour, virtually no beat error, great amplitude, and running just a few seconds over zero. And that's how I've been feeling how this watch has been running as I've been wearing it. It's pretty much not losing any time or not gaining much. Running really nicely, and it's nice to have that high beat movement as well. Gives you that nice sweep of that second hand. We have solid end links, and you'll see there's a mixture of sort of polished and brushed surfaces on the end links as well as the bracelet. They fit into the case really nicely. You'll see that is actually one link, not individual links, just to be aware of. But you can see there is sort of 5 pieces of brushed and 4 polished there. Tiny little bit of taper down to a sort of more standard clasp, which I actually really like. I like these clasps. We got the second hour logo, brushed, polished chamfer, brushed, 4 sets of micro adjust there, double pusher, and a nice milled internal. Looking through to the back of the see-through case back there, we can see that we have a customized rotor and that high beat Miyota movement. But on wrist, this is where this watch really shines, because those details on the dial are a nice thing to look down at, but the dimensions of the watch as well, those Miyota movements are nice and thin, so it allows for a very nice on-wrist experience. That bracelet is really comfortable, and it is a nice clasp to have on there. Really balances the watch nicely, and it's a really nice on-wrist experience. So what do I like about this watch? What don't I like about it? And what would I change? Well, I'm going to do it backwards, because there's nothing that I'll change, and there's nothing that I dislike. Not to say that this is a perfect watch, but there is nothing that I can point out that I dislike about it. There's nothing that I can point out about it that I would particularly change either. I think it has a really good looking dial, really interest factor, lovely case, size, dimensions, shape. I like the movement, I like the bracelet. It's a lovely watch. But I want to talk about the price a little bit more, and to do that, let's flip back to me. At 875 Australian dollars, I think this watch on the screen, when you're considering buying this one without having any hands-on experience with it, is actually reasonably priced. I think at that price, for a watch that looks like this, that has the dimensions and is powered by that high beat Miyota, it's about right. However, I chose to buy it second-hand. And why is that? It's not because of the price, it's not because of the look of the watch, it is because I'm putting it into a collection, and I have other watches that probably fit the same position as this watch. If I was buying this watch to be that one sort of dressy everyday watch, then I would have spent that money easily and instantly. But because I was adding it to a larger collection, because I had other watches that were in that sort of position in my collection, it made me sort of hesitate at spending that money. However, as soon as I got this watch in hand, it made a lot of sense that perhaps that is actually a really good price for a really good watch. Because if you're trying to buy any other watch in this price range, I think you're going to struggle to find something that looks this good, that is as well made as this, and that fits and wears so easily. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, maybe check these ones out next.